Welcome to Trade with Bands in a very special video. In this episode, we're going to talk about the most unusual options plays that I saw today because it was a really crazy week. We're going to be talking about plays that I saw in Apple, Facebook, Nvidia, and PLTR, and a few more. I hope you guys are prepared for a very special episode of Cheap Options to Buy right now. Welcome back. In the spirit and the theme of how we do things around here, I want to remind you guys our number one goal is to make you and the folks in the Trade with Bands community as much money as we possibly can. And I really hope to do that with this video. So what I'm going to do is we're going to go over 8 different charts, 8 different options chains, and 8 different option statistics. So we can take a look at the unusual bets that I saw today, and we're going to play a little game of pass or follow, where I'm going to take a look at the bets and I'm going to let you guys know if this is a trade that I would pass on or follow. Now remember, before we dive into it, I am not a financial advisor, but I'm just a guy out there that does his homework, that studies the hell out of technical charts, and I promise you, I look at well over 100 charts every single day. And I'll be more than happy to share with you my thoughts on what I think could potentially happen behind the unusual bets that I saw today. Stay tuned and let's take a look at the charts and the option chains.
Welcome to the technical part of Cheap Options to Buy right now. We're going to go ahead and start off with the option statistics and the options times and sales for Apple. And let's go ahead and dive right into it. So today, the options market for Apple was pretty split. It looks like there were about 555,000 calls compared to 350,000 puts. So just a few more calls than puts. And then also as far as how the options traders were getting into the options today, it was pretty much split between those getting in at the bid and those getting in at the ask, both at 42%. What we're going to focus on though is going to be this $1.7 million bet, which was the biggest bet put on Apple today. And that was for the October 15th, 150 calls. Again, that's the October 15th, 150 calls. There were 10,000 contracts purchased at $157 per contract. And that puts us at a total of 1.57 million for that bet. We're also going to take a look at the November 19th, 155 calls. Again, that's the November 19th, 155 calls. Somebody purchased 4,000 of those contracts at $256 per contract for roughly $1 million. So let's briefly take a look at the chart. One thing I want to point out is going to be consistent throughout this whole technical part of the video. You'll see a green line here on my chart that represents the key level or the key level of support where price has pretty much been tested multiple times. So in this one example for Apple, you can see 142.50 was tested once, twice, and then most recently this week for the 3rd time, and it held. Okay. But the options bet or the target or the strikes that we're looking at was the 150 and the 155. Now, the question is, do I think that between now and October the 15th, price can get to the 150 mark? And then also by November the 19th, do I think that price could get to 155? The short answer is going to be yes. So this would be a trade that I would follow. I would follow either one of these. What I'm seeing personally is prices closed above the lower Bollinger Band, which is closing above this red line here. And for me, my strategy is to ride this on up to the upper band, which is currently right around 153.50. All right, so this would be a go for me. I would think that between now and October the 15th, so 2 to 3 weeks, we could definitely make a 3-point move up here to 150, if not 153. And for sure, by November the 19th, I think that we could definitely make our way up to the upper band here around 153.50, even 155, and maybe even we break the new highs. All right, so again, this would be a trade that I would follow as far as the October 15th, 150 calls, where somebody put 1.57 million down today. And I would also be interested in following the November 19th, 155 calls that somebody bought today for around 1 million. All right, and that's Apple. let's go ahead and jump on over to Cisco. All right, let's go ahead and get started by taking a look at the option statistics and the time and sales. Just one sec here. Let me let Cisco update for us. All right, and here we go, right at the top here. So a couple things to note. Definitely not as many options traders involved with Cisco today, but we roughly had about 60,000-ish options that were overall traded today. So it's really interesting when you see 10,542 contracts get purchased, which represents about 15% of the overall options traded today, period. All right, so this was a humongous bet. 15% of all the options that were traded today come from this one position right here. Another thing to note is that 62% of the calls that were purchased today were above ask. So definitely people were more interested in getting in as opposed to waiting around and see if they got filled. The position that we're going to look at is the $1.65 million bet that was put down on the December 17th, 5750 calls. All right, somebody bought 10,542 contracts for $157 per contract. And again, these are December 17, 5750s. Now, the key level that we're looking at here is 55.25, and the target, obviously, we want to get to this level or above this. And if I were using the Bollinger Bands, again, this would be the very same strategy, which is wait or look for a close above the lower band, which we got today. And then the strategy would be to ride price to the top of the band. Now, personally, I don't trade Cisco because it does move a bit slow, but that's a hell of a bet put down today, especially once price bounced off of this key level here. So I would definitely have a high level of confidence that this one may hit, especially with as much time as the better bet. So if you're asking me, would this be a trade that I would pass on or follow? The Cisco bet would be one that I would definitely follow if I didn't have a lot of time to manage an option and I just really wanted to get into a trade and sit back. And so first target I would be looking for is, of course, the 5750. And then next target I would be looking for around the 59 to 60 level. But definitely seems more than doable by that December expiration. And again, that is the December 17, 5750 call. All right, so that's Cisco. Next, let's go ahead and hop into Facebook. Now, Facebook was an interesting one because, let me go ahead and let this update. Because the contracts that we're going to cover here for Facebook are lottos. Now, I thought it was interesting that the biggest bet of the day was 3,048 contracts that were lottos, and these were for the 367.50 call. All right, now those would definitely be a pass for me. I'll show you in just a bit, but if we were talking just real quick, Brandon, would you follow or pass on this September 24th? So these lottos for 367.50 strike, I'll be like, nah, bro, that's a pass. All right. The person who bought these, they spent approximately $16,000 on this bet. I would pass on that one. But what I would do is, I think the exact same bettor also placed 5,348 contracts for the 360 call. All right. And that's for this week again, too. Those were priced double at $6. So I think all in all, in total, this person spent $48,000 on buying a combination of the 360 call and the 367.50 call expiration this week, September 24th. And all in all, they spent $32,000 on the 360 call and $16,000 on the 367.50. And let's go ahead and take a look at the chart. And if you were to ask me, would this be a pass or follow? I would say half and half. I'd pass on the 367.50. I think that's a bit aggressive to try and get price up here, but I could see tomorrow with a wild day potentially us to push all the way up towards 360 here. That definitely seems doable. Now, to be perfectly honest, what I would do in this particular case is I would probably look at the 355 calls. All right, so I don't necessarily love being out here at 360. I think the probability of those hitting are a bit lower than, let's say, perhaps the 355s here for 17 cents. So that would be the way that I would play it, guys. Price has definitely found itself back at a key level. And I think if we can get over the high of this candle from yesterday, which is 349.67, then I can see us definitely maybe even putting it a 10-point day, which will put us at around 359. So definitely keep this one in mind. This is a lotto that I am definitely watching. Let's move on to NVIDIA. All right, let's take a look at the options chain and the time and sales. All right, so the bet that I saw for you guys in NVIDIA, there were a couple. Now, what I do want to say is, what I'm not going to talk about is this $4.28 million bet on these October 1st 180 calls. I'm not going to talk about that. What I am going to say is that's just a little crazy, and that's something that you guys want to pay attention to. But yeah, somebody put 4.28 million down on October 1st 180 calls, so deep in the money. But the ones that I am going to point out is going to be the biggest bet of the day, which was the September 24th, so expiration tomorrow, the 230 call for NVIDIA. Now, somebody put $47,000 down on these 230 calls, and they bought 1,741 of them for $27 a piece. Let's go ahead and take a look at the chart. A few days ago, price retested the key level of 207. You can see back here, price held it up, or 207 held price up, and we got rejected. Came back to 207, got rejected again, and now finally we broke above it and retested it here, and we bounced off of it pretty hard. So 207 is definitely a very important level. The question is, are we going to make it to the upper band, which is currently priced at 226.64, or past the upper band and make our way up to 230? Well, with the way that this thing has been moving, I would definitely think that that is a possibility. So this would be one that for $27, I would definitely go ahead and follow. So for NVIDIA, I'm looking at following the try of these lottos at 230 strike, and looking to get in around $27 per contract. So this is another one that I think that I like. All right, let's go ahead and move on to Planeteer. I keep saying Planeteer. Y'all gotta forgive me. It's Palantir. All right, Palantir. All right. Y'all were clowning me on my Palantir video or so back, and that's fine. We're all human here. But all right. What I wanted to point out was that what I'm not going to talk about are it's still waiting for it to pop up. Come on. All right, where are they? Right here. What I'm not going to talk about is that somebody spent 1.9 million on January 20th, 2023 30 calls. Okay, so let me repeat that. 1.9 million on January 20th, 2023 30 calls. Somebody bought 3,000 of these calls for $648. I'm not going to talk about those. I'm also not going to talk about the fact that somebody spent $481,000 buying in the money contracts that expire October the 1st, all right, at the 28 strike. So just keep in mind, there's some long-term bettors that are placing their bets here on Palantir, and then there's also some short-term bets being placed on Palantir. But keep in mind, all of these are calls. All of the big boys, all of the big orders for today are all calls. So I definitely thought that was interesting. I mean, so far, we've talked about almost 2.5 million in calls. Now, what I really wanted to focus on, though, however, is going to be the pass or follow. And what we're going to pass or follow on are these two particular positions. We're looking at all of this action that was placed here on the 32 strike. All right. So you have two different potential strikes that I'm looking at. I'm looking at these December 17 contracts that expired December 17 for the 32 strike. Somebody put 1,000. Somebody bought 1,006 contracts at $156 for approximately $157,000. All right, so I thought that was an interesting bet. And then at the same time, someone actually went another month out and they bought January 21st 32 calls. They bought 1,500 of those at $214 for approximately $321,000. So you put that together, and that's almost $500,000 on the 32 strike. So keep in mind, we're talking about December or we're talking about January for the 32 strike. Let's go ahead and take a look at Palantir. Now, for me, I have an easy way to do this. I'm going to have to just do a little bit of chart work on this one just to show you guys. What I'm seeing is this. There is a box here that you may not see unless I draw it. And this box is 7 points in length and in size from top to bottom. If you go here, we're right around 2750. And if you come all the way down here, we're right around 2050 for a difference of 7 points. Now, the way that I like to trade these box breakouts is very simple. If this is a 7-point box, then I'm expecting for price to go at least 7 points higher. Right? It's just a matter of time or how long it takes to get there. Usually these moves resolve in anywhere between 2 to 6 weeks. And that's just, my personal experience. So if you were to add $7 to $27.50, that would put us at approximately $34.50 as a target. So if you wanted to ask me, Brandon, would you follow these December 17 32s? I would think that you have more than enough time to get to 32, and potentially you can move all the way up to 34.50, maybe even 35. Okay. There were definitely 2 times at least as many calls purchased on Palantir today, 566,000 compared to 183,000 puts, and 50% of overall calls were purchased above the ask today. So definitely people were trying to hop into these again. So I thought that was interesting. All right, let's move on to QQQ. QQQ, what was so interesting with this today? And let's go ahead and let the options chain update. Give us a sec. What was so interesting with this today was that most of the action was on the put side. And I thought that was really kind of wild because, we had such a strong day in QQQ if you take a look at the chart. Let's go ahead and let the options time and sales update, and then we'll go ahead and talk about the positions that I saw or what we want to look at here. Now, I'm not looking to follow any of these particular trades here on the QQQ, so these would be a pass for me. But what I did want to point out was that I thought these were really interesting. And I think this is still pulling in some data here, so give us just a sec. Yep, almost there. All right, so one thing I wanted to notice real quick is that you might see me flipping through the options times and sales, and I'm never going to talk about anything that has the condition as a spread. I'm not looking at spread bets. What I'm looking at are straight bets, all right, where somebody just purchased these particular puts outright and not necessarily via a spread, okay? So what I wanted to pull your attention to were the October 15th 354 puts. Someone purchased approximately 8,800 of these puts around the price of $193 per put for a total of 1.7 million. Okay, so that's at the 354 strike, and these are puts that we're talking about for October the 15th. In addition, someone else purchased 8,000 puts for the 364 strike, again for October the 15th, and that represents approximately 2.7 million, because you're talking about 8,000 contracts purchased at around $3.39 per contract. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at the chart and see if this is one that we would pass or follow. Like I said, I'm not really interested in buying puts right now at this second, but when you see around $4 million in puts for the week of October the 15th at these particular levels, I mean, anything's possible. Let's just say that. So I will point out that the key level here is 375. And I'll say that if QQQ gets held up by this 375 level, keep in mind that all of these puts were purchased today, and that, there is a possibility that, hey, we may retest 364 before potentially pushing higher or making any other kind of move. And we may even potentially move as low as 354. So keep that in mind, okay? Key level here, 375. Let's see what happens if price can break over this or not. And if not, maybe we go ahead and fall back down to 364, maybe even 354. And again, those are October the 15th expiration. Let's take a look at QS. This one I liked a lot today. Let's go ahead and take a look at the options chain and the times and sales. Just a sec here. Let's let this update for us. All right, here we go. What I thought was really interesting on this one today was a couple things. Number one, that these 34 calls for October the 15th. So we're talking October the 15th is the expiration. 34 call is the strike. Would we pass or follow? And so we just kind of take a look and break that down in the chart. But what was interesting was that all day long, and if you take a look at the time of sale, all day long, someone purchased 2,500 of these at a clip 4 different times for a total of 10,000 contracts, averaged in at a price of around $72 for an overall value of around $717,000. So I say, that's kind of interesting, right? All day long, they're just scooping these up. $62, $59, $67, $1, and they just don't give a damn. They're just loading them at 2,500 a clip, and they're staying right at the 34 strike. So naturally, they're trying to load up. Let's take a look at the chart and see what we see. Now, if we're talking a box breakout, I can definitely see one from around the 2450 level down here towards 19. And that would give us a box of about 5 points. So if we're going to move 5 points higher, that would put us around 2950. So not quite to the 32 level yet, but I will say this, that price in this particular chart could move up to 32. I could definitely see that because we have 32 acting as a very nice resistance level in the past, and price definitely has a memory. And so I can easily see us moving on up to this 32 level before potentially breaking out higher. The question is, are we going to do it by October the 15th? Well, things are looking pretty bullish, and I would have to say that this will be one for under $100. I would be willing to take a pat or a follow on this one for sure. So this QS would be one that I would definitely follow. And so that means I would take a follow on the October 15, 34 call, and expecting for price to get up to around 32. And then I would be trying to cut it here. I wouldn't try to ride all the way up to 34, but I think 32 is definitely doable. And so if you wanted to take a look at the 32 calls, those are probably even better for again the week of October the 15th. And last but not least, let's go ahead and take a look at Snap. Let's go ahead and let the options time and sales update. All right, so a couple of things I wanted to point out here. Number one is that this morning, somebody put $1.3 million down on the December 17 85 calls. Somebody bought 2,200 contracts for approximately $5 or $590 per contract, okay? And that puts them at around a price tag of 1.3 million. So would I follow these, or would I also take a look at the October, where are those? Here, the October 1st, 81 calls. Somebody bought 1,637 contracts today at a price of $140 for around a value of $230,000. Okay. I think I would probably put my money on these and these. I'll probably go ahead and take a flyer on both of these. But if I had to pick one, I'm probably going to go with the cheaper contract and just, see what happens between now and October the 1st. So remember, this is next week, okay? But that's a hell of a bet, 230K to put on next week's contracts if you don't have confidence. Just taking a look at the options, they were 2-to-1 compared to calls to puts today. And there wasn't a big appetite to scoop these up above the ask. So, definitely not as hot as the market as some of the other charts we've seen. But 81 and 85 definitely both look like doable targets, especially 81 by next week. All right, I could definitely see that happening by next Friday. And for sure, by December, I could see Snap headed up towards 85, if not the 90 level, to be perfectly honest.
Thank you guys for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed the technicals and going over the options change with me. Hopefully you found a couple of trades that caught your attention, and there are a few things that maybe you're looking at buying tomorrow. Me personally, I'm definitely looking at the Facebook lottos, the NVIDIA lottos, and you know I gotta keep my eye on that multi-million-dollar bet with Apple. So, with that being said, if you guys have anything else that you want to see, please feel free to leave that information down in the comments. Hit the like button. Don't be afraid to subscribe, because the next time that I come with hot trades like this, you definitely want to know that they're coming down the pipeline. And with that being said, I'll leave you guys with two very important things. As always, patience pays, and get more bands.